Hello and good morning, good afternoon and a very good evening to you, for good and wonderful people of the tube. Hope what today, hope you're feeling grand and all is well in your world. Hi there everybody. Today people of the tube, we are looking at this. This is the Nuix Amp Academy. Nuix have very kindly sent me this thing for review and I'm a bit in love with it. But what is the Nuix Amp Academy, I hear you cry? Well, let me read you from the manual here. The Nuix Amp Academy, the NGS-6, is a Stompbox platform amp modeler with IRs and essential effects. It features 6 legendary amp models, like Vintage, which is a Fender Twin, Classic, which is a Fender Vibro King, and a Modern, which is a Mesa Boogie Mark I. It also has a brown mode, which is modelled on a Friedman Brown Eye, a red mode, which is modelled on a Mesa Boogie Dual Rectifier, and the Iridium mode, which is a Bogner Ubershaw. Enough. So yeah, basically it's an amp in a pedal. Yeah, layman's terms there. This is my first kind of foray into this kind of thing. I've tried a few of these things and I've always found that like, I don't really like that. It don't really sound very good. And my initial idea for this video, PeopleTube, was to go into this totally blind and just see how I got on. But last night when I was setting this up, setting all this stuff up today, because I've got my PA set up, I've got amps set up, I've got this room is chaos right now. There's leads everywhere. There's Reading over there. Anyway, last night when I was playing, I just set it all up and made sure it works. My kind of, curiosity got the better of me. I ended up playing on this for about an hour and was really enjoying it. And I'll say, PeopleTube, you'll hear it in a bit. So, what have we got on the Amp Academy? So we have a 4-band EQ. We got bass, middle, treble, and presence. The present style on the Vintage voice, which is a Fender Twin, is technically a bright switch. So if you turn it all the way up, the bright switch is on. Turn it all the way down, bright switch is off. It's not technically a present style per se. It actually is a multi-function thing. But that's the EQ section, and that's the only amp where the present style isn't a present style. On the top row here, you have gain, volume, and then here you have a built-in noise gate and also built-in reverb. To access the reverb, what you do is you hold down, you've got 2 buttons down here, and you hold down this button called Scene, wait for it to start flashing, and then basically that's when you can alter the reverb, and that one alters your decay, and that one's the level of reverb, and to get back you just press it and you're back to norm. So let's talk about the Scene button. So in this pedal, it's technically a 2-channel amp pedal. Are you getting the idea? I'm a bit confused yet. But in this pedal, you have 3 scenes of 2 sounds. So this button switches between sound A and sound B. Sound A is your clean tone. Sound B is a distortion tone. So A is all the clean amps I spoke about at the beginning. So Fender Twin. B is stuff like the Friedman kind of sound and the Mesa Boogie kind of sound. And then the Scene button here alters between 3 scenes. So you can have one scene where you have this set up with 2 different amps, and then you can press that button to go to Scene 2, where you can have 2 different sounds, and then you can press it again, Scene 3, 2 different amps. So technically you can have 3 different clean tones, and 3 different distortion tones in this one pedal. You can also access the different scenes by using that switch there as well. These other 2 switches here, they're the ones that select which amp you want. So this one is the clean channel. So up is Vintage, in the middle is Classic, and then down is Modern. And then that's your distortion one to pick the distortion model you want. So that's the front panel. On the side here, we have a DI out. Now this is what we're going to be hearing, basically, when we play through the Amp Academy. Although I do want to try this later on, straight into the camera, to see what that sounds like. So later on, we're going to go from this DI straight into the Q8 with, no PA. I'm just curiosity at the cat. So that's that. Then also on the side, hang on a minute, where are we? So you also got an auxiliary in, and I'll be quiet, phone. You've got an auxiliary in on the side here, and you also got a headphones jack as well for silent practice. Oh my god, shut it! I never learn, do I? Maybe the phone doesn't learn. It should just go on silent automatically. We are living in the age of technology after all. Anyway, so that's on the side, and like I say, the idea of this pedal is for you to go to a gig with just this and no amp, and this goes straight into the PA, or you can use it for recording. This will go into your DAW, your interface, and you use it for recording, or you use it for silent practice with the headphones out. And it's basically it's an amp in a box. It's an amp in a box. That's what it is. With, like I say, with 3 different clean tones you can have, and 3 different distortion tones you can have, and they're all savable as well. People with Tube, you hold this button down once you've kind of got it set how you want it to set it. You can hold that button down, and it will save that preset. Let's move to the top panel. I'll show you a picture of it here. So on the top panel, you have your power in, then you've got a USB port which you can plug into. You can download stuff from NuX's website, like a Tone Studio kind of thing, where you can really get even more out of this pedal. It's mental. Amp pedal. What do I call it? Then you've got an insert, and that's basically, you can have like a send and return effects loop, and it actually comes with a Y lead, so you can have an effects loop on this thing. My god, this is beyond me. You know, what happened to just plugging in and playing? But that aside, I love this thing. You got an output jack, which basically you can connect that to your amp, the power side of your amp. I'm guessing that'd be an effects loop. I don't really know. I don't do this thing very often. You got 2 dip switches as well. You got a ground switch again to get rid of buzz. If you're using this in a venue that's got like a load of noise, you can always hit the ground switch and it'll shut it up. And you've also got an IR switch. Oh my god. Can't people just send one message? You know, just a long message, just sending like, hello, send, how are you, send, you know, I don't know. Then you got an IR switch on and off, so you can toggle the IRs, the inbuilt impulse responses of this pedal, off and on. And I do believe you can download other IRs, I think. I don't actually really know. Yeah, and then you've got your input on the on that side there, and basically, I'm running it how I would run it if I was to use this thing live. This is how I'd run it. So from my pedal board, I'd go into the input here, and then out the DI, we go to the PA. Jobs are good, and yeah, that's it. And there's no amp. So anyway, like I say, my curiosity got the better of me last night. I ended up messing around with this. I actually got my preset, and this is how I've got it set up, people with Tube. So I was using just a clean channel, because again, I'd use my pedal board live. I wouldn't use this for my clean and distortion. You could, but I wouldn't do that again, because I've always relied on pedals. Because simply some of the gigs I have to do, I have to plug into whatever's there. Sometimes, backline is supplied, and you don't know what you're going to get. So if I was to solely rely on, like, say, my Orange CL120 or the Super Crush or my Marshall MG or the Boss Katana or whatever for my core tones, and I turn up at a gig and there's like a Fender Deluxe there, and I don't have a distortion pedal or anything like that because the amp did that, I'd be in trouble massively. So that's why I always get my sound from pedals, because it's foolproof basically. And I can, and I have done a video on this, plug my pedal board directly into a PA desk and it'll work. Because again, it's all coming from pedals. The one thing this facilitates is it actually makes my pedal board going into the PA more amp-like. It actually responds and feels more like I'm playing through a guitar amp, which I did not expect. Anyway, so yeah, that's how I'd run it. So today what we're going to do, people, I'm basically going to use the room mics. I'm not going to... My God, my nose is also going itchy. Again. I'll tell you, there's two realities. There's reality before you press the record button, and then there's a reality after you press the record button, and they're both different. So, but yeah, today I wanted to use just the room mic. I didn't want to show this pedal mic'd up. Although later on, what we are going to do, people, is we're going to come out the Amp Academy straight into the Zoom Q8 and see how it sounds like DI basically without the PA. But I wanted to use the room mic so you can hear what it sounds like in here instead of close mic'd. You know, and also when we're doing comparisons between the PAs and the actual guitar amp behind me, it'll be interesting to hear it because I really like this. I really like this, and again, this is going in my guitar bag just in case I have to use it at a gig because this would be a lifesaver. It really would. Anyway, that's enough waffle. Oh, it's 300 milliamp pedal as well, so you know, pretty much any pedal power supply will power this thing as well, which is cool. And it comes in a very snazzy box. And I say, the manual covers all else. If you really want to know more, the manual covers it. I'm a bit out of my depth with this kind of stuff, but I just know I like it and it sounds good, and this is how I would run it. So without further ado, PeopleTube, let's make some noise. That's far too much waffle. Although I had to get through it because it's quite a mental pedal amp thing. But yeah, so quickly, let me tell you how I've got it set up as well. So I've got it set up on a clean sound. Again, I only need clean because my pedals do the heavy lifting. And I'm using the Fender Twin voice, so it's the vintage mode. So that switch is up. And I've got it, so the gain is at 3 o'clock, volume is all the way up, no bass. I've actually had to cut bass on the PA as well. You could actually go into the tone studio of this and alter that as you wish, but I'm okay with it. So no bass. I never use bass anyway, especially not live. That's the bass player's job. I have the mids set about 1 o'clock. Treble is about 7 o'clock. The bright switch, because I'm using the Fender Twin model, is off, and that's it. And that's so that's it. So first thing you'll hear, PeopleTube, is the PA, and I'm going to get this stand out the way so you can hear the speakers properly. I'll put the Amp Academy on the floor. And the first thing you'll hear is the PA speakers, and then after that you'll hear the orange Super Crush going into my orange cab down here. And again, it's all going to be on room mics. I'm not going to use close mics on this one. It just kind of, I want you to hear it in the room more than anything, and I want to know your opinions, PeopleTube. So without further ado, let's make some noise with the NUX Amp Academy. Really like this thing. It's a great amp pedal thing. My friend Nicole uses one of these when they gig, her and Marja, when they gig in France. She uses one of these things, and I can see why. It's very tempting. It really is, because that's your amp. You know, not one of these big heavy things. That's your amp, and it sounds good, and it feels like an amp, and it responds like an amp, and I like it very much. And again, yeah, cool. And again, I'm starting to come round to it. If they sound as good as this, I'm in. Okay, so let's make some noise. I can open the tube. So here we go. This is the Amp Academy. At this point in time, going through these two PA speakers through my Behringer PA head down there. So this is the clean sound. Then we'll get through to pedal board. Okay, YouTube. So there you go. That's the two back to back. The Amp Academy is brighter, and that's basically simply because I'm using a Fender kind of style preset inside the Amp Academy, whereas the orange is a lot darker because the oranges are dark amps. It's one of the things I love about them. It's also one of the things I loathe about them live because they are a dark sounding amp. They have a lot of kind of like low mids and a lot of boom that they sometimes don't quite cut live. They can be a bit of a pain sometimes live, but but I love them nonetheless. But yeah, the Amp Academy was first, as you heard it, and it just responds like an amp. It feels like a player. It doesn't. When I did a video a while back now where I plugged my pedal board just straight into my PA here and just ran it through these things, and it felt like I was playing through a PA. I know that sounds weird to say, but it did. It felt like I was playing through a PA, and it felt fine, and it wouldn't have bothered me at all, but I could still feel it was a PA. The Amp Academy, what that did is it made me feel like I was playing through a guitar amp. It made me feel like I was playing through a Fender amp. It had the same response as like my Fender Deluxe and the Super Reverb and my Fender Stage and the Bronco there. It had that kind of same thing. It's really sparkly and just it reacts to pedals in a really pleasant way. And yes, Nuex, I love this thing. It is actually fun. I actually do love it. I'm not just saying that. This is going in my gig bag, and it's actually coming to gigs with me because of that. That could be a lifesaver one day. You know, say for instance, like I get to a venue and this wouldn't be uncommon, and it's tiny. And there's literally nowhere I can put my amp because again, I like to gig with 412s because you know you can't beat that. Although technically my 412 is a 212 right now because of my back, but you know, but it's still the 412 cat. You know, I like to gig with big amps, 100-watt amps, and I like that. I've always loved that. I don't really like using small watt amps live; it feels weird. But what happens if I got to a gig and I couldn't fit it, or they both blew up on me? You know, heaven forbid. You know, touch wood. But that could save my bacon, because all then I need to do is just plug it into the PA and I'm away again. And I've got to say, for ease of going around places, like say for instance somebody rang me and says we need you to a gig in Los Angeles tomorrow, you know, I would probably just take that and my pedal board and the guitar, because you don't have to worry about, you know, you could put this, oh my god. Sorry people, my brain is exploding because I'm a bit excited by this. I like the possibilities of this. And I like the way it feels, I like the way it sounds. Like I say, I wouldn't use the distortion sounds in it because that's not how I run things. They do sound good. I haven't really messed with them though, and I'm not really going to, because again, I use these things, pedals here, to get my sound. All I need this to give me is a nice clean tone and for when I go into a PA, and it does that. And it also, like I say, it makes me feel like I'm playing through a guitar amp, which is just weird to me. People, what do you think? Like I say, it is definitely brighter than the orange. It is brighter, but again, it's going to be. It's a Fender style amp I'm running here instead of a orange style amp. You know, it's got more of an American sound. That's more of a British sound. But I'll tell you what, YouTube, if I had to go to a gig with this and plug it into a PA and use it all night long, I wouldn't be left wanting. I wouldn't be kind of like, oh my god. I actually really like it. As long as the monitor feed was good, or I could hear the PA, I would be happy. Downside. Now there is a downside, but I think I'm gonna leave the downside for now, because I'm talking far too much, because I'm overexcited and I'm running away with myself, like Mr. Tangent Boy does. So what we're going to do now, PewDieTube, is I'll talk about downsides in a minute. What we're going to do now, I'm going to plug the Amp Academy into the camera now. Now this is something I haven't tried yet. Now this could go horrifically wrong, because on the PA head I've had to turn the low end all the way down. because there was just too much low end coming from everywhere. And again, that can be fixed. I don't run bass anyway on my amps, but even with the bass on 0 on the Amp Academy here, I still had to turn the low end on the P8 all the way down. So what could happen here is I could plug it into the Zoom Q8 and all we get is bass. But we're going to find out in a second, PuberTube, because I really want to know. Because again, this could be an absolute godsend for doing videos as well, video demos, no matter where I am. Like if I've got my pedal board, my camera, and that, I can kind of do demos kind of anywhere, as long as I've got power, of course. Because I won't need to cart my amp with me, I've got it all here. You know, and again, I could put this in my pedal board or in my guitar bag and happy days. But yeah, this could go wrong. This could be a bit iffy, this one. So I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll find out. I'm going to have to run a test quick as well, because I don't want to start playing, not know what's going on, and blow my camera up. So I am going to do a bit of a test first, but then the thing you'll hear immediately after is either me saying it doesn't work, or me saying, let's make some noise. Let's find out. Anyway, without further ado, let's carry on. Let's put the Amp Academy straight into the camera now and see how it goes. Okay, people tube. So I might have had a bit of a swear. Even listening through these cheap... My God, I can barely move, can you tell? And also, that's my excuse for why my playing was just terrible, because I couldn't move. That's my excuse, I'm sticking to it. But even listening through these crappy earbud things, what are they, Samsung, they're from my old phone, it sounded amazing. I don't know what it sounds like on the camera yet. It might sound terrible, I don't know. I don't think so, but it sounded amazing. I got lost. I could have easily played on that for hours and hours and hours and been very happy. And again, like I say, what's going on there is basically from my guitar, hitting the pedal board's going into the Amp Academy, and then from the Amp Academy, straight into the Zoom. The only thing I've done on the Zoom camera is I've had to activate the minus 20 dB volume cut, the pad, because I had to do that on the PA as well. I forgot to mention that earlier on. I had to activate I had to attenuate this thing because it's got so much power, and also I've got the master running flat out, so you know. But even with the master running low, I still had to attenuate it. When I first plugged it in last night, I ran the master really low, and it was still peaking out the PA. So I just stick, you stick on the pad, you attenuate it by about 20 dB, and jobs are good, and it works. So just bear that in mind. But other than that, I didn't have to do anything to the EQ. It just sounded awesome. And like I say, this makes me very happy, PeopleTube, because it gives me a lot of opportunities for videos now. Kind of like, I don't have to necessarily always have my amp with me, because I love the way this sounds. I absolutely adore the way this sounds. So I could, if I've got my pedal board and my guitar, this and my Zoom camera, I can kind of do videos anywhere without having to have my amp or an amp in general, because this is doing that job. And yeah, I love it. Like I say, that is going nowhere. They're not, Neurex are having that back either. That is down mine. Same as the Trident there. Oh, by the way, the Trident, I said in this video I was going to try the Trident straight into the PA as well. But I haven't really had time to set that one up or play with it, sadly, and I don't really have time now. So I'm going to do that another time. I will still do it, people with you, I promise, but I just haven't got time to do it right now. It's just sat over there because I intended to do it in this video, but I just don't have time, sadly, and time is very much against me at this point in time. So yeah. But people with you, what do you think to the Neurex Amp Academy? This is such a cool thing. I love it. It's amazing. Oh my God, I want to marry it and have it babies. But there is a negative side. And that's this. So, say for instance I was at a gig and I'm using this. And the sound guy isn't particularly great at his job. And doesn't really understand anything about EQ or guitar tone or live sound in general. Met plenty of them in my time, people with YouTube. I can guarantee you that, and I'm sure a lot of you have as well. Gigging musicians of the world, unite. There's plenty of sound guys like that, and they get a bit overzealous with your sound. Now, they're going to do that anyway if you have an amp on stage or you don't have an amp on stage. There's many gigs I've done where the sound on stage, my guitar amp sound on stage, is not what's coming out the front. And out the front is this fizzy, waspy noise where what they've done is they boosted up the highs and they've got rid of the mids, and because my guitar tone is so dark and MIDI, everyone thinks they need to brighten it up. They don't. But so there are many times where that happens and what you hear on stage is not what you're hearing out the front, and it's kind of frustrating. But you have your fallback, which is if you don't have the guitar coming at you in monitors, you can just hear your amp on stage. You know it sounds good on stage. So if you come off stage and somebody says, your guitar tone was terrible, it was really bright and fizzy, you know it wasn't. It's not you that's in control of that. And again, if there's plenty of sound guys out there who you can't trust, sadly, they have their own idea of what your amp should sound like and what you should sound like. Like, they want you to sound more like how they want you. It's weird. And that's always a bad thing. And you are at the mercy of that. But like I say, with your amp on stage, you can kind of wipe out that problem. You don't have to worry about, like, even if it sounds bad out stage, out front of stage, at least you can hear your cab and your amp and go, well, it sounds good on here, so at least I can lock into that, and it's not going to affect me, ear-wise or brain-wise to going, oh, it sounds crap out there. I can't do anything about that. If a sound guy's making it bad out the front, I can't change that. I can't say to him, can you do this? Because invariably, if they're doing that in the first place, it means either they don't like you or they think they know better. And again, met plenty of them. And in which case, you ain't going to win that fight. They've got control over you. So all you do at that point is just take comfort in the fact if your amp sounds like the way you want it on stage, and that's all you can do. Now, the problem with something like the Amp Academy here is if you're plugging this straight into a PA and that's the PA guy, and they go, it's a bit too dark for me, and they start brightening it up, and then that's the sound you have, and you have no monitoring on stage other than what they're giving you. That's your sound, whether you like it or not. You've got no fallback to go, well, this sounds good, so I don't really have to, I can't do anything about that. You haven't even got that fallback. It's a case of like, if they're making that sound bad, it's bad, and then you have to just deal with it, which can be very, very off-putting and can completely take you out of the gig. So bear that in mind. But bear in mind, that is the only negative I can find on this pedal. The other thing I would like, and again, I'm just being a bit of a diva here, is I'd like it to be battery powered. It's not battery powered, as far as I know, but so it's just, it's thingy power all the time. But again, if you mount that to your pedal board and it's getting power from like a pedal power thing, then you don't really have to worry about it anyway, because it's just going to fall under the thing of your pedal board, so it doesn't really matter. But like I say, that's the major negative I can see, is like, you don't really have a fallback. If the sound guy makes you sound bad and the sound coming out the monitors back for you so you can hear your guitar sounds bad, you can tell them, can you do this please? But invariably, most of the time, like I say, unless the sound guy's really nice, they might do that, but invariably they'll have their own idea of what it should be and what it should do, and they'll just be like, yeah, done that, and they haven't actually done anything. I remember doing a gig once, PeopleTube, where the monitor was feeding back horrifically, and it sounded awful. It was like just a load of wasps coming out of this monitor, and I kept saying to the sound guy, can you just turn it off? Well, I didn't start that way. First off, I said, can you stop the feedback in the monitor? And I said, can you turn down the high end? Because it's just so fizzy. And he goes, like that. Didn't change a thing. I watched him. He didn't change a thing. And so we went through another song, and I said, it's still doing it. Can you just sort it out? Can you stop the feedback, turn down the high end? Then just proceeded to sit there like that. Didn't do anything. I could see him. The room wasn't very big. I could see him, and I was getting more and more angry by this point, because it sounded awful. I couldn't concentrate on what was going on at all. And after another 2 or 3 songs of it just going mental, because I thought I'll just kind of grin and bear it, I couldn't do it anymore, and I just said down the microphone, can you turn this monitor off now, please, or I'm going to kick it off the stage. Not my proudest moment. And just an amendment to that, Pikachu. I don't know why I said kick it off the stage, because there wasn't a stage, it was a pub 4. But I did say I was going to kick it. Yeah. Wasn't my proudest moment, but again, I was so angry at this point. And this monitor was just like whistling, blasting me. And I was ready to just boot it. Just absolutely boot this thing as far as I could away from me. And so what did he do? So I said, can you turn this monitor off or I'm going to kick it? And he went like this. And didn't stop it. And I was just like, I can't win. I literally can't win with this man. He has just got control on this and he's not going to do anything to stop it. So I had to just get through the whole gig with this monitor whistling at me. And needless to say, BooTube, I was not a happy bunny after the gig, to say the least. I remember storming out and just like literally just loading up the van and just like leaving. It's like as quick as possible. I was like, I was not happy. But again, that's the problem with certain live sounds. It's like, you know, if you're at the mercy of a sound guy, you know, and again, you are at the mercy of what they want you to sound like, not necessarily what you want to sound like or what you do sound like. Which is why, again, I like it when you've got a sound guy who's good, or who's nice, and he'll actually do what you ask him. And that does happen. You know, it's 50-50 split, I reckon. Well, in my experience, but there is always that one. Yeah, I'm gonna make you sound like this because I don't like you, or I know better than you do, and that kind of thing drives me balmy. And again, like I say, with the Amp Academy, if you're running straight from that into the PA for a DI box, or just straight into multi-core or whatever, you've got no control at that point on your on-stage or out-front stage sound. You lose control of both worlds. Whereas with an amp, you still have control over your on-stage sound. So that's why this, to me, would only be something I would use if I was doing PA for the trio or for somebody else, or somebody I trusted was doing PA. Or if I had to, like, say there was no choices and I had to use that and the sound guy was a bit squiffy, I would ask him very nicely if he could do what I would ask of him. But I wouldn't hold out hope because, again, like I say, I've been disappointed in the past. And like I'm sure a lot of us have. You know, overzealous sound guys can be very, very tedious, to say the least, especially when you're trying to do a gig. It's a bit of a nightmare. But like I say, that's the only negative I can find. And that's the only negative I can find of stuff like this in general. You know, Line 6 Helix, Axe-Fx, what's Kemper. You know, if you're using them for a PA, and you're not in control of that PA, then you're not in control of that sound. And it is whatever it'll be. And again, unless you've got people behind you who know your sound and people you can trust, you are at the mercy of whatever. So it's kind of a bit of a crapshoot in that way. So just bear that in mind, people too. But again, like I say, this thing is amazing. I absolutely adore this. Apart from that, it opens up a significant different world for me as well now of I can go into a PA. You know what I mean? Up until now, I was more than happy to plug my pedal board straight into a PA. Like I said, I've done a video on that, and alter the EQ, and I'd be very happy, you know. But the PA doesn't respond like a guitar amplifier at all, you know. And I was very much aware, although it sounded good, that I was playing through a PA. It doesn't. It's very much that flat response thing. Whereas what the Amp Academy adds is a guitar amp feel. It really did feel like I was playing through a guitar amp. And again, even just playing with headphones, it felt like I was playing through a guitar amp. And if that's kind of what that sounds like, I can imagine that's exactly what the headphone out sounds like as well. I can imagine the headphone sounds amazing. So again, Nuex are so good at this kind of stuff. They're just amazing at this kind of stuff. Like I say, there's the Mighty Plug Pro, which I've got, which I absolutely adore as well. And then there's the Nuex Mighty Air, the bigger one, which I forget the name of all the time. And again, like the Trident over there, the multi-effects unit, this now, and a couple of other pedals I've tried from there. They're just amazing. I love Nuex so much. They just do fantastic, fantastic things. And this is no exception. I absolutely love it. I love the fact it gives me that option now to go into a PA if I need to, or it gives me that option to do videos with just my pedal board, that, and my guitar straight into the Zoom camera. I don't have to have my amp with me if I don't need to have my amp with me. The downside of that, like I say, I do have to wear headphones, sadly. But it's a compromise that would be worth it if need be, if that makes any sense. And also it's DI, so what you hear is what you get. You know what I mean? There's no kind of like, you know, I've accidentally knocked the mic off center or anything like that, because I much prefer the consistency of DI. I'm a consistency fiend. Anyway, enough waffle. People of the tube, what did you think to the Nuex Amp Academy? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And any other negative kind of thoughts you can think about using this live, please put them below, because I'd be curious to hear your thoughts as well on anything, you know, anything you could think of. Like I say, another negative would be if your pedal board died and you're using that and you've got nothing. You know, you haven't got an amp at that point. You've got nothing, so that's another negative. If you can think of any others, people tube, let me know in the comments below. I'm very curious to read your comments. Other than that, love this thing. Sounds fantastic. Feels like a guitar amp, even when it's plugged into a PA. Sounds great, just DI'd. Remember, you got to attenuate it though, because it's a powerful beast. But there's not many DIs you don't have to attenuate, especially guitar DIs. I've found you have to bring them down. They can be a bit unruly if you're not careful. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, PeopleTube, and I will see you again very soon for another video. If you like the videos I do, please consider becoming a patron at Patreon. And if you like the music I do, please consider going to my Bandcamp. Links to these are in the description box below. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. I've got to pack all this down now. Yay! And it's like a bloody gig. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, and goodbye. I'm so happy. I'm so happy with this. This is so cool. Love it a bit. See you later.